Hi, welcome to the Wisdom of Your Soul. I'm your host, Janice Mary, and I'm so glad you're with us. I do this YouTube series to help you to learn to connect to your soul wisdom. I had an amazing experience, and since then, I have really benefited from realizing that there is another voice that lives within us that is very, very wise and really can help us in a lot of different situations and help us in our lives and to really help us improve the quality of our lives. So I just love to share, what I feel and what I hear from this wisdom, in hopes that that will help you to want to consider to turn to this wisdom instead of the ego, which we all know the ego is very, very strong within all of us and wants to take control and wants to lead our day, basically. So when we get a little quieter and we're able to not pay attention to our thoughts and not to give them so much weight, we're able to then access this different part of ourselves that is extremely wise, extremely abundant, extremely nurturing, and extremely caring. And I feel like that's what we all need. It's certainly what I needed in my life and has helped me tremendously. So again, I just wanted to help you to turn within. Today, I thought we would talk a little bit about guilt because that was the theme of this week in my counseling sessions. All of my clients feeling extremely guilty. So when I, kind of ask my soul, when I go within and ask, this is just some of the thoughts that come to me. And if they resonate with you, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. I hope that you'll just consider that the ego voice, the voice that you hear, and the thoughts that arise within you are really not the truth of you. A lot of people do feel like, well, my thoughts are me, my feelings are me, and that's true, but it's not true. So the good news is that most of these thoughts are not very nice, and most of these thoughts don't say good things about you. So if they're not true, that's really good news. What's difficult is that we're so addicted to them and we're so tied to them that it's hard for us to let them go and just to say, I'm not going to believe in those thoughts, and I'm not even going to take them seriously. But that really is the goal. And why do we do that? Why do we want to work so hard to quiet the ego down, to tone that ego down? Because when you do, you're left with your soul energy. You're left with this beautiful energy that is really the essence of who you are. And the essence of who you are is love, and that is a beautiful energy to live in. So if we push aside the ego, and not believe everything that it says, what you're left with is this beautiful energy. And it's within that energy is your wisdom. So that's what we want us all to be able to do, because that really does affect you in many, many ways. We're also going to do another exercise from the book The Magic, which I just love that book because I just feel like it's another way to connect to your soul energy, and it's fun. It's really a great book. I would highly recommend you read it. It's by Ronda Bryne. She wrote The Secret, which was, we all know, an amazing book. But I really like this one very, very much. So we're going to do exercise number 8 in that book today. And, so all of this is to just help us to continue to move out of the ego mind and into the spirit. And when we do that, we really do benefit. So the reason why I picked guilt was because it was like client after client was just talking about, the issues in their lives and having issues with friends or, loved ones or their partners. And so they would talk in their sessions about whatever was happening, the situations that were happening. And then maybe, by the middle of the session, my clients would kind of look at me and be like, but I feel so guilty. I feel so guilty feeling this way about this person. And I feel so guilty for even thinking these things, like I know that I have a reason to be mad at them. And I know that that's justified, but I feel guilty about it. And, that's the ego mind. The ego mind, there's like almost no way out. So the ego mind says that we've been wronged in some way and then gives us all the justifications of why that way is correct. we're wrong, that we've been wronged, this person said something horrible to us, and we're justified in our anger towards them. And that can work for all of 2 minutes, and then the guilt sets in for most people. Maybe not you, but for most people, feel very guilty for then having all these bad feelings and thoughts. So, where do we go with that? So it's almost like, even if I feel justified in my anger towards somebody, even if I feel like I'm right, that I have a reason to feel angry at this person, then I'm left with guilt. So feeling angry and then feeling guilty, it's just kind of like a big mess. And how is that helpful for us? It's not really helpful for us. So, what the soul will say is that, first of all, there's nothing to feel guilty of. And when you are, feeling wronged by another person and you have a lot to say and you're criticizing them and you're putting them down and they're horrible people, how could they say such horrible things to me? And they don't understand me. And, when we kind of go vent that way, the soul energy really said that really you're talking about yourself. So anytime you're angry at another person, you're angry at yourself. So you don't have to feel guilty about being angry at yourself. And we don't feel guilty. It's easier for us to be angry at ourselves than it is to be angry at somebody else for some reason. So if really what we're saying about another person is really the same thing that we're saying about ourselves, then, where does the guilt come in? It feels different, but with the soul, that energy, what it says is that there's no difference between you and another person. So if you're angry at another person, you're angry at yourself. So the guilt isn't, you don't really have to feel so guilty about it. The soul energy will point out to you that it's all a mistake. It's all a mistake, that there's no, oh, hi, Toasty, that's my cat. There's no reason to feel guilty about that. So it's important for us to realize that the soul energy is so loving and kind and is never ever angry at you and never wants you to feel guilty, because you're never basically in the soul's mind, you're never doing anything wrong. You just have mistaken. It's almost like we just keep going off the wrong track. So what the soul will say is kind of put us on the right track and say, you know what? It's okay. It's okay that you think this about this person. It's okay that you feel angry. And it's even okay that you feel guilty about feeling angry. But you don't have to. You don't have to feel any of those things, because what you think that they've done to you, even though it feels justified, is really just a mistaken belief, because what we perceive somebody doing to us is generally the things that we do to other people. And it's generally the things that bother us the most. So anytime we have an issue with another person, it's almost like just having an issue with yourself. So now I know when it comes to my clients and myself, that when I'm mad at myself and I'm angry at myself for something that I did or I didn't do, I don't feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty about being angry at myself. I don't feel guilty about giving myself a hard time. I don't feel guilty about that. So that's where the soul was like, if you don't feel guilty about doing it to yourself, why are you feeling guilty about doing it to somebody else? So I thought that was so interesting, and it wasn't something that I even thought of. So basically, feeling guilty for having thoughts or having, that thoughts that come up about other people that aren't good is just having thoughts. It's the same thing as having thoughts about yourself that aren't good, and the thoughts that come up all the time about ourselves that aren't good. So it's all the same. So we don't have to view it that way. And again, when you're hearing my words say it, it's a good thought, but when you feel it from your own energy, when you feel the truth of that, it's much, much different. It just feels, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, that's true. So sometimes when I hear myself saying something, I'm like, well, how are other people really going to believe what I'm saying, because they're not feeling the feeling behind it. And that's why it's so important for you to really just quiet down your ego mind a little bit, not take it so seriously, so that you can connect into this energy and feel that, to feel your own wisdom for you. And it's generally very similar to what I'm saying, because other spiritual teachers that talk, I can tell instantly that they're in this energy. Byron Katie, when I listen to her work, I so resonate with her work because she is in that energy. She is in that energy all the time. And what she says, I so resonate with because I feel the feelings behind the truth. And you can too. All you have to do is tone down your ego mind. And the way you tone down your ego mind is really just not to believe anything that it says. So when a thought arises in your mind, first of all, you didn't do that. The thought just comes up. It's like thoughts come up, and it's our choice to believe these thoughts or to say that's not true. So if a thought comes up in my mind about something like, today's going to be a bad day because it's raining. Where'd that thought can't come from? It probably came from years of conditioning of hearing, oh, it's raining. Isn't that horrible? Oh, it's raining. Isn't that horrible? So now my mind, when it sees rain, is so conditioned to be like, oh, it's raining. Isn't that horrible? So then when I just think about that and say, well, it's raining. I love the rain. The rain is relaxing to me. And I don't know, I just always liked the rain. But the first thought that comes up is that. So that's just not true. And most of our thoughts that come up are not true. So all the thoughts that have come up in my mind that I'm not good enough, or that, I'm lacking in some way, or, I'm somehow not perfect enough, is not true. And that's just such a relief to hear. But you can hear that from someone, and I can tell you that, but you're not going to believe me, because I tell my clients that all the time and they don't believe me. So you really do need to tap into this energy to feel the truth, because when you tap into your own energy and your own wisdom, when you go within, then you feel the truth. So when I say to you, when you're upset with another person, it's okay, because it's just like being upset with yourself. That if that doesn't ring true with you, meditate on it, and see what you get. And you probably get a very similar thing, because that's the truth. The truth is we're all connected, and basically we're all one. So if we're all one, what I'm saying and doing to myself, on some level, I'm saying and doing to you. And what I'm saying and doing to you, I'm doing to myself. So we're all connected. And that's just a very spiritual way of looking at things. And again, it's just words, and words are very, very, words can't describe the emotions and the impact of this information when you really feel it for yourself. No amount of words will ever be able to, that I could try to tell you would never do it. You have to feel this for yourself. And, that's why, it's so important to me to try to help people do that, because I see so many people in so much pain, and I was one of them. And, if you believe your thoughts, you're in so much pain, because our thoughts are conditioned beliefs. Basically, from the time we're born, we're conditioned to believe certain things. And some of us are very, very good learners, and I was a very good learner. So now the thoughts that come up in me are all from the world, and they are not the truth, and they don't make sense. And the more that I realize that, the more I'm in my soul energy most of the time, and it is such a breath of fresh air. I had a major thing going on in my life. I lost my dog of 16 years, which was so painful. I moved. I started a new business, so much going on that probably in the past, if all this happened to me at once, I probably would have had a nervous breakdown. But going into the soul energy, I know the truth. I know the truth that my dog is with me, and, it doesn't ever go away. So, that's great. And the move was relatively pretty easy, which I was very surprised by, because everybody has these conditioned beliefs about moves, that, oh my God, you're moving. Oh my God, you're moving. It's so hard. That's got to be so hard on you. And it really wasn't that difficult. So, it's kind of surprised me, that it was not that difficult for me.